me take a minute now to introduce the inaugural part of the program, which is going to be the key two major sessions of today, the highlight. Sayandeb Banerjee, he has been associated, I'm sure that you would have read or you would have listened to him. If you have been attending AI conferences, we would request Sayandeb to talk about and connect with, from his experience, some of the best practices, who according to you is a great AI engineer, or what AI can do for companies and where we should focus on. So over to you, Sayandeb, and thank you again for joining and all the support. And first, I think you must start with the word math company.
Sure. No, thanks a lot. Okay, so I'll take over where Shinu left. I have been in this space. I just realized that Shinu, the profile talks about 18 years, but it's actually about 22 years now, right? So this is I think when we are getting started, somewhere this I know somebody from my marketing would have provided you this, but I'll tell them to kind of change that. But anyway, I think number of years is not important. I think what is important is that that at least I had the luck, had the good fortune to see this space honestly evolving, right? I mean evolving from what used to be called business analytics, analysis. People used to not even identify kind of what this term is, to today where I think AI is synonymous with anything which is more innovation, anything little more advanced. And I always say that I don't think there is any sphere where AI is not present, right? Even if you hear the budget speech of any finance minister in any countries, this features there, right? If you hear people talking in the UN, people talking about kind of some NGOs, kind of looking to do great things with the Gates Foundation and stuff like that, you will have a mention of AI there. So that itself tells you that how critical that is. The math company, to be honest, just that the two things. One, to make it very clear that we are a company who deal with math, right? I mean, we do something leveraging data, leveraging math, putting them together and creating insights and actionable insights for large enterprises. That is what we do. It is definitely not to intimidate people. One, to make clear that look, we are this kind of a company. Expect a set of little geeks, right? And not necessarily your cool business guys. And yes, we will show you the beauty of math for sure, right? And overall, the name sounded catchy, and more importantly, the domain was available. We got clearance, because sometimes you figure out think of a great name, but you may not be allowed to kind of keep that name for various reasons of Company Act and things like that. So we made that happen. So that's pretty much kind of my story. The topic that I chose and well, is talking to Shinu, I keep saying this, go AI it AI. Okay. Yeah. I'll kind of touch upon a couple of things. One, I will try in my way to demystify AI, because the term is used so much today, right? And sometimes I feel that it just is used for anything and everything, which is a little kind of unfortunate. So I'll try and kind of talk a little bit about what, at least in my or in the circle that I belong to, what is our view of AI. Talk a little bit about rise of AI, because you all know that AI is nothing new. It has been in existence for a long time, but clearly kind of the last decade, or maybe not even decade, the last 5-6 years saw almost like an inflection point, and things are kind of moving at a much rapid pace. So what is really kind of causing that? I think that is important for us to understand, because then we can kind of take advantage of that, right? And of course spend some time on building a career in AI. That's what I guess most of you are here for. I can share just some of my perspective on that. All right, a little bit of history. It all started with the advent of computer science, which is obviously much older. I kind of definitely look at artificial intelligence as a subset of that, and then over a period of time, what evolved is what we call as machine learning, which is also a subset of artificial intelligence, and then in the more recent time as deep learning, right? So that is how kind of I see the connection between all of these, because many times people say. Now, I am not sure what exactly you were taught in college, but the way I can see AI till a point of time was almost synonymous with robotics, right? I mean, what a kind of a machine can be taught to do is what constituted, kind of artificial intelligence till a point of time. But as you rightly said, right, I mean, what has happened over the last, I don't know when to put that, kind of really the threshold or the cutoff, is that it has truly become what is artificial intelligence is supposed to be. Now, to understand that, I would ask you a simple question, maybe to Ishashini or to anybody, right? I mean, when we say artificial intelligence, two words are important, artificial and intelligence, right? So can anybody throw some light on what is the meaning of the word intelligence? Anyone can take a guess. What is intelligence?
Able to think.
Able to think.
Cognitive thinking.
Cognitive thinking. Okay, one of the things that Shinu said is ISA is dangerous. We use a lot of jargons and terms. Unfortunately, you'll find me, kind of always trying to use simple English words. So instead of cognitive thinking, if you can, any one of you can translate things into English, right? When I mean English, I mean English. It will help
Evolving,
for all of us to understand better. Sorry, go ahead.
evolving, self-learning,
Evolve.
self-learning.
Self-learning. Okay. Anything else?
Okay. Common
Decision
sense.
making.
Yes. Common sense, decision making. Yeah, intelligence is you can say common sense, but unfortunately, common sense is not that common as people call it. See, at the end of the day, if you look at some of the dictionary definition of intelligence, it is the ability to make decisions, right? I mean, what characterize intelligent beings, be it human being or any other intelligent animal, their ability to make decision, right? I mean, I can think in order to make a decision. I can learn something in order to make a decision, right? That is always the outcome that you do. So very simple, artificial intelligence is when you are able to make decisions without applying kind of intelligent minds, right? When you are able to do it leveraging machines, then it becomes artificial intelligence. So Yashashwini, to your point, what has happened over a period of time, everything that you talked about, right, in terms of whether it starts all the way from natural language processing to the visual ability to process kind of video, audio, signals and stuff like that. That is what our minds generally do, right? So ability to for the kind of the machine to do it, very simply put, is broadly artificial intelligence. And then kind of the way some of the workings happen in between is where the space of machine learning and more kind of deeper into it is the deep learning space. Okay, so Pawan, if you can move on to the next slide in the interest of time, we'll talk more about this. Let's move on to the next slide. So the way I look at, if you can, kind of do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clicks. Sorry about this, because I did some of these animations which will help to kind of do this, but I think we are good. So I'll try to again simplify this world of AI, at least the way I see in practice. See, there is AI kind of in theory, AI in research, and then there is AI in practice, right? As I said, it is about a decision making process. So in order to make decision, you have to always start by sourcing data. And when I say data, please never ever kind of confuse data with numbers, with rows and columns. Nowadays, as somebody said, everything is data, right? I mean, sound is data, visuals are data, right? I mean, machine signals are data, the simple text are data, everything is data, right? So sourcing data, that's one big component, and we can go on just talking about each of these components for a whole day. How do you integrate data, right? You get data from external stimuli, a lot of different things happen, but then you have to bring them together, right? And then start making sense. That is when you start building solution. That is where all your algorithm, all your math and everything comes into play. That's your building solution. Then a very important part is how do you deploy the solution? How do you deliver those solutions? Sometimes through smart devices, sometimes through apps, sometimes through kind of some APIs, kind of calling shots, a lot of different things, right? I mean, very simple example is probably your kind of Alexa, the final one that you hear from them is about deploying the solution. And in the process of all of these, you unlock value. I think this last component is something that I will keep emphasizing on, and because I'm a practitioner, kind of I have learned AI, whatever you want to call these broad spaces, by solving real problems for large enterprises mostly. I am a big proponent and a believer that everything that we do has to unlock value at the end of the day, right? We cannot or should not do anything just for the sake of doing it. It's not about applying a very fancy new technology. It is not about a great algorithm. It is about that at the end of it, it will create a value of this order, right? It can be a value to individuals in the consumer world, or it can be a value to an enterprise in the enterprise world, right? So this I would always want all of you guys to keep in mind as you learn and as you apply. Okay, so let's look at a little bit of kind of rise of AI. We were just talking about it. Next slide. So let's go back to primitive ages, right? I mean, and this is probably the beginning of time. The tools that you can think of are the spirit and the source, and then kind of whatever, because we were an intelligent being, so whatever our mind permitted at that point of time. So I'll fast forward a lot, kind of to the 19th century, where this shows probably a more learned or more kind of progressed human being, but we slowly started understanding data, right? I mean, different forms of information started getting collected, and there were attempt to make some sense out of it. I'm sure you all know that if you go back, it was around this time when the first forms of insurance started, kind of when shipping was happening. So how do you read data from kind of shipwrecks or accidents in the past and decide on how much you should charge, right, for an insurance premium? So all of those initial trades started kind of coming up, right? Slowly it evolved. I'm moving a little bit 1 century at a time, because at that time change used to happen in decades, right? Or change used to happen in centuries. Nowadays change happen in months and quarters, but if you go back quite a few hundred years, it used to happen by centuries or by decades at best. So kind of with data understanding, kind of you go back one step before, and slowly kind of the whole thing about understanding business also evolved, and not just kind of solution development. Okay, I now have kind of fast forwarded to our 21st century. Kind of you have seen this space with kind of with tools more evolving at the stage of solution development, at business understanding space, as kind of data understanding space, right? And then slowly the features of deployment coming into the picture. As we deploy and we started creating products, right? I mean, that is more interesting, leveraging data. Yeah. So we are trying to look at 2020. This is what necessarily the whole landscape looks like. I mean, this is only a small collection of all that is out there from a tools perspective that are in our kind of access across all this kind of spectrum. But this space is obviously getting crowded, and we have more choices. So what is also important, that as we learn, we also learn when to use which tools. Earlier when you never had tools, this was not even a problem. You only had one thing to use. Now there are really kind of a plethora of choices that will be very important for us. Okay, so you can click kind of just quickly. So a little bit view into the 21st century, saying kind of what kind of will potentially happen. I think it's anybody's guess. I think if you are from you are a fan of sci-fi, I'm sure you are watching enough to see what will happen in each of these spaces, to be honest, right? In terms of both your data understanding, solution development, and deployment and product creation, kind of what the next evolution will be. It's anybody's guess. And by the way, kind of things are changing so fast. And if I present the same slide 2 years down the line, and by the time you guys kind of graduate, I'm sure there will be more or slightly different things in the upper panel, right? So that's how the world has moved. Just for us to kind of remind, this is a more of a reminder. Yeah, just keep here. Just reminder, kind of that AI is everywhere and changing everything, right? Very, very important. First and foremost, applicable to any industry. I think that is the beauty of it. Initially, when I just joined and I heard you guys introducing yourselves, I could see you coming from so many different industries, right? Somebody came from kind of GE wind power, somebody came from VMware, kind of different backgrounds and different industries. I'm sure all of you have kind of applications of AI in your industry that you are aware of, and I'm sure you will learn about more applications across different industries. However, if you look at all of these kind of applications at the end of the day, again, simplification is a virtue in my mind. So what I kind of try to do is kind of say that, okay, everything that you see around AI broadly are three categories of work or applications. One area, big time, particularly when it comes to consumers, is around personalization, right? A lot of work that happens around AI is, kind of to personalize, kind of any offering that you have. Then there is a big block of automation, things that, kind of probably were done more manually by using human mind. Now, because machines are doing, leveraging, kind of this whole field of artificial intelligence, naturally things are getting automated. And because things are getting automated, it's more about, democratization. And the very simple example of that is, if you look at the field of healthcare, right? If you look at, kind of, doctors, obviously, kind of when there was no AI at all, right? You need really, really expertise, in form of medical expertise to do everything, to even, kind of read what your X-ray report is saying, what your, kind of blood reports are saying. But now, kind of you need not be necessarily an expert, but a lot more people can make sense out of an X-ray report or a, kind of a blood report or any other tests, because of, AI can really help you read through some of those complications, look at some of the patterns, match with the older ones and say, this is what potentially it means, right? And then you make a call. So personalization, automation, and democratization, if you look at most of the things, they are all in some of those categories. Everywhere I'll mention something in red, because just like any other tools, any other weapon, it is important for us to also understand some of the drawbacks. So like anything else, it needs to be handled with care. So unconventional, unseen problems, that people have never ever done before, but AI is definitely allowing us to do that. All the way you can think of 100 different applications. I talked about insurance in the past, kind of nowadays when there is an accident or a damage in the car, the ability to, kind of understand the extent of damage and therefore the amount of claim right then and there by using a simple photograph, probably has never happened. You need, again, expert mechanics to come inspect your car, which will take days, sometimes weeks to finally give you an estimate. But now many of those things are changing. So, and again, you can think of many different examples. One thing. Now, this is on one side. Now, because of AI, you can clearly see business models are changing, right? Around us, kind of the world of various forms of business are changing. I just, kind of give just a couple of examples, very easy for us to, kind of imagine more. I'm sure you all have heard about Amazon Go. These are the fully automated stores that Amazon has been experimenting with. Now, and I know there is a lot of criticism or discussion about whether it is successful or not, but just the very fact that something like that can happen, right? That you can just walk into a store and buy things and just swipe and come out without anybody present in a retail store, that itself is amazing. Facial recognition based credit systems, right? Credit system that used to take so many weeks or months for an approval process now just happens, just recognizing your face and then matching with databases and then figuring out everything. Mobility solution versus personal vehicle, the what I say, kind of in this world of Uber and Ola and even, kind of Wulu and, kind of Yulu, the other, rides and everything else. People are, a lot of things are moving towards just a mobility solution rather than just owning your personal vehicle. Now, there are a lot more of those, kind of changes that are yet to come, leveraging, some of the powers of AI. But that also means that, cost of inaccuracy is becoming higher and higher, right? If, there is no room for 95% accurate model, just think of an Amazon Go says that, I have a 95% accurate model, 5% can go wrong, right? So you can go buy something, pay just, 1/4 the price and come out, nothing gets detected, or the vice versa. You are charged like 4 times. So that will not really help. So that is important. Changing life itself, right? I mean, we are all, kind of surrounded by gadgets, all the smart devices. The virtual society is becoming more virtual. Just now, what we are doing in a virtual mode, I think, a few years back, that's even unthinkable. Even few months back, before this pandemic hit, I'm sure this inaugural would have happened, in person in the campus. And I'm a strong, I'm a big believer that there is no substitute for that, but this is still feasible. And then I'm sure we are doing this and doing it, kind of very successfully. An abundance of choice, right? Which again AI is creating. The way to scrap information and bring it all together is giving you so much more choice than you used to have before, which in turn is also defining our value systems at the end of the day, right? I mean, there are enough examples around that. Yeah, so needless to say that I don't need to spend any time on this slide. Most influential companies are driven by AI. We all kind of saw the news, Amazon hitting $2 trillion in valuation. We all hear about Tesla, the big boss, kind of gaining so much. Google, Facebook, whatever it is, everything that you look at, kind of in present day businesses, they're all driven by AI, right? I mean, there is no, this is not a choice anymore. This is this is not that should I do it, should I not do it? This is the way to go, right? There's no other option. Okay, now I'll spend about probably 5 minutes just talking about career in AI, because this is absolutely the the most important part. I'm sure that's dominant in your mind right now as we speak. So this is what I kind of keep saying. Sorry, if you have to go back. Okay, this is what I keep saying. Kind of the T-shape of the future. What it means is very simple. We looked at the whole spectrum, right? We talked about understanding the business, understanding the relevant data, developing the solution, deploying it, and product creation. Now, the way I kind of envision the world and the way I'm seeing it already happening just around me, I think gone are the days where you can afford to just be specialist in only one of these and be completely blind to the other. I'm not recommending that you have to expert in everything, but having a good understanding of the whole breadth is important. But it is equally important that we develop expertise in one of these that you really feel passionate about, you're very strong about, right? And I'm sure many of you or most of you have enrolled into this program probably to develop that expertise or to develop that breadth or to develop that depth. But keep in mind, kind of the breadth is also important. You cannot ignore that. You cannot say that, look, given that you can give me data in a certain form, I can build some amazing algorithms. I can create a fantastic, kind of an API. But what problem are you solving? And at the end of the day, how will you deliver value? I think, that is what is going to be the biggest differentiator in my mind, and already is a differentiator of at least an individual who at least have a good understanding of the breadth, but have a depth in certain areas. And this is what I say is the T-shape of the future. And I see more and more, kind of, the prominent players in this space, coming up with this kind of a T-shaped scale. How can we, have a talk in this pandemic time, without talking about PPE, right? I'm sure all of you are very familiar with PPE. This is one of the most commonly used words, today, other than kind of COVID or kind of lockdown or isolation, whatever it is. PPE is a very common term, but I will kind of talk about a different PPE, and I completely the copyright goes to Sachin Tendulkar. This is not my words. Some of the interpretations are mine, but this is something that I heard Sachin Tendulkar saying in one of the recent interviews, and I thought it was so apt, right, in terms of when I think of my, or any one of us think of our career. So the first P. So Pawan, as I speak, you can kind of keep clicking. The first P, the way I see it, is passion, right? Passion is something which there is a lot of debate, kind of worldwide, but probably it cannot be injected. There has to be inherent passion. And I am pretty confident that everyone in this audience absolutely have some passion for AI, and that's why you are here, right? If there was no passion, I don't think kind of you would even venture to do something like this in the stage of career that most of you guys are in, right? So there is clearly a passion there. Now, clearly passion is not enough, right? Something more is required. So the next one, Pawan, if you go to the next one, the next P, the next P stands for. So preparation is what you are going to do over the next 2 years, right? You are going to not just have this passion is one thing. You are going to prepare yourself to kind of have a phenomenal career in this space. Might sound like a little bit of gyan, but I want you to kind of reflect on what I wrote after that. Is what you value, what you really value. Ask yourself what you think you value. Sometimes kind of we think that I value a lot of depth in math, but if you ask yourself, you say no, I'm more interested in building the applications. That is what is more important to me. The math is not, whatever. I mean, in different ways, sometimes there is a dichotomy or a difference between what you value and what you think you value, and sometimes what you're expected to value, because there is an expectation of the market, because there is a trend. Sometimes you, so balancing between all of these, I think, is going to be very critical. But I would strongly urge all of you to leverage these 2 years to really introspect, while you are learning a lot of different things. See what is kind of really appealing to you, what you're really passionate about, what you really value, and then kind of morph your career in that direction. If you can do things that you really value, if you're really passionate about, and you also get paid for it, kind of what else do you want, right? And E stands for execution, right? I mean, very simple. Pavan, if you can go to the next one, absolutely it goes for execution. Extremely important. A lot of people are very passionate, very learned, well prepared, but you find a big gap in execution. And what makes execution special is, first thing I always call out is discipline. While we talk about capability, many people talk about in order to really create innovative stuff, you need to be creative and whatnot. But the gap between all of these capability, creativity, whatever you call it, and success in most of the cases is discipline, right? If we can be disciplined, I'm sure that gap can be bridged. And one thing to keep in mind, particularly in this space and in today's world, right, that you have to kind of experiment. There is no way that you will know a solution upfront. You can do a waterfall model and then go and implement that. It will not happen. So you have to be kind of agile. You have to kind of experiment, and you will fail in the process. But what you have to keep in mind, kind of this is something that I always tell my teams also, that failure is not failing. I think that's very important for us to understand. Failing is just kind of an action kind of that happens. It's probably kind of a certain incident that happens in the overall journey. But failure is acceptance of that failure and kind of making that as a milestone, right? If we move along, then it is just failing and not failure. That's probably the difference between the two words. The last slide, and just takeaways for aspiring. Here it was for analysts. I'm sorry, you guys are obviously far more senior, but whatever. I mean, don't. I myself consider myself as an analyst at heart. So that's what I'm talking about as an overall analyst. Yeah. So just to summarize, right? I mean, focus on problem solving, right? Many times the focus gets into all the intermediate steps, but solving a problem and creating value, I think this is very important. Learn and unlearn and learn again. I started my whole talk by saying that what you guys are doing, I think, is phenomenal. I'm sure you have to unlearn a lot of things that you have learned so far while you are doing this course. And as you go forward, believe me, kind of this 2 years will teach you a lot of things. 5 years in the line, I'm sure you'll find need for learning newer things, and you have to unlearn some of the things that you're learning now. Okay, so that is the whole nature of the business. You can't do anything. And what I call is consumption mindset, which is about creating value, right? It's not just about creating a fantastic solution, but how can that be consumed? How can that be used? Sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on that, and therefore value never gets created, and everything, in my mind, ultimately fails, right? And which is not a great idea. What to avoid? Unnecessary depth and research. While it is very important that you develop depth, it is very important that you have a research mindset, and that's what many of you might want to go deep into research. But I don't think any of us would like to do research for sake of research, right? You want to do research to create something kind of which is valuable, which will be revolutionary, which will change things. Avoid kind of advanced techniques only, in a sense. Understand what is the need of that situation or that context, and apply the appropriate tools and techniques and technology at our kind of. That many times I find this unnecessary kind of fascination to say I have to use the most advanced ones. Yeah, you should absolutely know the most advanced ones, because where it is applicable, you should apply that, and you should not kind of hesitate to do that. And working in silos, which I mean is, sorry, I'm back and I'm done. So we'll probably ask for questions. Yeah, go ahead.
This is Shashi here.
Yes.
Yes, Shashi.
Can you repeat about silos? Your voice was breaking at that time. Can you repeat it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. The point I was making is, see, many a times we, people who are a little bit more left-brained, right, who deal with math, technology, things like that, have a tendency to work in silos. Kind of, I will take a problem and try and just solve myself with a, kind of a blinker on both sides. In my experience, I have seen some of the best solution comes when you can collaborate, right? When 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, kind of come together with ideas and exchange ideas. When ideas collide, the best solution comes out then, right? So I think we have to learn to, kind of avoid silos and work in collaboration with others. That was just my point. I just wanted to, bring out some of the things that you should focus on and things that you should avoid.
Okay, thank you.
Sayandeb Banerjee here.
Hey, Bangladesh.
Probably an early question, but just out of curiosity, I was just asking this. So you're mentioning that, and we also perceive that things may change 2 years from now by the time we actually complete our program. So just to stay in focus, what do you recommend that we should be really, how to tie up the dots while we are learning at REVA? How we have to tie up the dots also on what's going outside.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That's a great question, and that's a kind of that's a reality or the truth of today's world. So I'll say 2 things, right? One, how do you kind of connect the dots? I'm sure the program and the mentors will itself help you to kind of, if somebody is taking a particular course or a session, in the second year, not in the first year, whatever they were planning to do this year, in terms of some of the specifics, while the problems have not changed at all, right? I mean, broadly, the problems are exactly the same. If you look at least from an enterprise perspective, the problems are, how do I sell more? How do I save cost? How do I, optimize my operations? How do I, kind of get more customers? So at the end of the day, for an enterprise, the questions are the same. For a human beings also, the questions are the same, right? How do I, kind of stay safe? How do I remain healthy? And, kind of how do I, do it in the best possible manner, so on and so forth. So broad questions have not changed. What has changed is the way you can get there, the path, right? And I think the one, your trainers or your mentors, teachers, they itself will help. Second is, there is no substitute of reading. Kind of, you have to read, and don't ask me what to read, because in today's world, gone are the days when I recommend a specific journal, right? There is enough and more kind of knowledge everywhere. You have to leverage our favorite Google a little better, kind of search for it, and kind of be in that habit of reading more about what's happening around you. And the third thing I'll say is, kind of, while you are learning, don't get too married into a specific technique or a specific language or something. Understand that that is one way of doing things. Try and kind of understand the underlying kind of the abstracted, the theories or understanding of how this is working, right? So the example that I always say, that people, I'm sure all of you have done coding in the past, right? So if you are talking about a class and an instance, I think in almost every language, everything, kind of the concept of a class and an instance is there. Just that kind of you do it differently in Python, you do it differently in Java, you do it differently in even Visual Basic, whatever you are leveraging, kind of. So I'm saying that if you can try and understand the underlying fundamentals, and that is where a course like this is very helpful, right? Otherwise, many people are learning on the job, but they are learning those instances, unfortunately. And learning the instances won't help, right? Because in the future, the instance will change, but the class will remain the same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I also want to contribute to that.
That's pretty much what.
Bharadwaj, I also want to contribute to that. This program is not designed with a very conventional mode of teaching learning process in mind. It is futuristic in itself, because the kind of projects that you would do, these are industry grade problems, and the problems, as Sayandeb just mentioned, it remains the same, because solutions are evolving, and little futuristic and large scale problem is what we would introduce you to. So nothing is very casted in stone here. We are very agile. We are very cognizant of the fact that tomorrow's interviews questions are going to be very different the company requirements are little different kind of technology. So that's why we say we are technology agnostic, domain agnostic, but at the end of it, we need to solve problems. So that is the intention here. Nothing is very, very conventional and very old, and we'll continue teaching that. That's not the way. Any other questions?
Yes. Hi, Sayandeb. This is Rakesh. And
Hey, Rakesh.
yeah, and you are into the field for more than 20 years, 22 years, as you are telling. I want to know your experience of in which field AI will be playing a major role in the future. As AI is already into automotive and autonomous driving and everything, it is changing the way it is in the past. So, in which field do you see it have more scope? I would like to know that.
So I already I think touched upon that in one of the slides. I think AI is already in every industry. Believe me, yeah, with some has progressed more, some has progressed less.
Yes.
In the future, it will be in each. I can't imagine an industry progressing right without leveraging AI. I mean, if I obviously you talked about automotive, you talked about manufacturing, some of these where there is heavy usage of machine, right, in some way, it's easier to kind of understand the application of AI, if you will, right? Because as I said, the ability for a machine to make some decisions and not instructing the machine, okay, you do A and then B and C, or turn off a switch or turn off kind of an handle, that kind of already explains kind of AI. But if you look at more little softer field without so much use of machines per se, there also AI is progressing rapidly, right? If you look at retail, for example, kind of a large retailer like an Walmart or a Target. I'm not even talking of the online business, which obviously is completely digital and enough use of AI. Even in a large and we have done that for some of these large retailers in the past, right? I mean, they are leveraging the data from their the cameras that are placed inside the store to understand where they need more store representatives at a given point of time, right? Where there is more customers and then more crowding, and therefore they need to mobilize people from one end of the store to other. And obviously, we have to imagine a Walmart store if you have ever seen one. I'm sure many of you have seen or not, or you have to think of an Home Depot, or you have to think of a Target store where it is not that simple. It is not only two aisles that kind of from one aisle and move to the other one, right? It's a big deal. So I'm saying things which are conventionally not so machine driven. Even there, I gave some examples from insurance, for example. Banking has been leveraging. I talked about facial recognition based kind of credit systems, leveraging a lot of text information to really understand your credit worthiness and things like that. So there are I honestly can't think of an industry that will not leverage enough of AI than something else.
Okay. Okay. Thanks, Anand.